Hey! Welcome to, or back to, BarbieCoProductions. And today, I found a few more of these Series 3 mini brands marked down on clearance, and I want to see what I can find for the kitchen and see if I can make some of my own minis using what I find in here. So let's get opening. Starting off with a collector's guide that shows all the minis in this series. And in the first bag is, starting off with a stack of money, that's always a good thing. And in here is a Sprite can. These ones are too big for the Barbies, but I think we can do something with this. In the second bag is another soda can, but that's okay because this will work really well for my project. In the third bag is a chocolate layer cake. That actually looks good and will definitely work well in this mini kitchen. And in the next bag is another one of the two big cans. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to figure out something to craft with these. And in the last bag there is a mini Scotch tape. I hope I can find a second one of these so I can take one out of the packaging. And lastly is to tick everything off from the collector's guide. This is the one I used last time, so I've already marked off the other things I've previously found. In the first bag is beef broth. This will be perfect for the kitchen. And in the next bag is another one of the two big soda cans. A pack of highlighters. A bottle of orange juice. This looks like a good size for the kitchen. A bigger roll of tape. This one looks more like packing tape. And once again, tick everything off the collector's guide. Let's see what's in the next capsule. Another bag of lollipops, a bag of chips, and a FedEx box. These ones have another mini inside, as I learnt from the comments last time I opened these capsules. And in this one is a mini slushie. It looks a bit small for Barbie, but it might work for Chelsea. In the next bag is a bottle of Fanta. And the last item is another jar of this sauce. Tick everything off the collector's guide. And this is the last capsule I have left to open. There is a bottle of orange juice, another bag of lollipops, another one of these mini tapes, which means I can take this one out of the packaging, some peanut butter sandwich crackers, as well as a stack of money, and in the last bag is a mini brand shopping bag. Lastly, I'm checking these items off the collector's guide. But with that all done, let's see what can go in the pantry. I also went through the things that I've opened previously from these same capsules and found some more things to go in the pantry. But this pantry is still pretty empty. So let's use some of these cans that are just too big and make something for the pantry. I start by removing the label from one of the cans. And using some really thin cardboard or paperboard, I trace around the top of one of the cans with a pencil. Then I cut them out. Add some glue to the back. And stick it to the top of the can. I add a second layer just to make it a little bit thicker. Then using some regular paper, I mark out a size that fits the can and cut it out. I use my finger to lightly curl the paper, just so it matches the shape a bit better. I put some glue on one end and stick it to the can. Then I use some more glue and wrap the paper around completely. Trimming the excess off and repeating the process a few more times. Then I cut off this extra paper. And repeat the process one more time. Then let that dry. Now that's dry, I mixed up a pink acrylic paint color using some Mod Podge as well, and I put that over this silver part, trying to avoid getting paint on the paper. Then set that aside to dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to work on a second idea. I start by taking off the label and repeating the same process with the paper. Then I add the cardboard. And I add some glue to the top of the lid to stick down this edge of the paper. With this other one dry, I can still see some of the silver, so I'm adding a second coat of paint. And letting that dry again. As for this second design, now that it's dry, I'm adding a coat of this red paint. And setting that aside to dry. Once that's dry, I add some medium brown paint just to mix the colors a bit. And set it aside to dry. Moving back to the original one, I'm going to use this silver paint marker to color in the lid. And use some of that pink paint to touch up any of the silver. Looking at this dried now, I think it needs some paint. So I'm using some of this dark grey and this metallic silver. I start with a coat of the dark grey. And while I have this colour on my brush, I'm also adding it to the lid on this other bottle. Then I'm using the metallic silver paint on the original design. Next, I get a toothpick, cut off the pointy end, and cut it down to a size, making sure it's longer than I want the final product to be. I add a coat of that same dark grey paint, then a coat of the metallic silver. As for the other bottle, I add a coat of metallic gold paint. Then with the straw dry, I cut it down to size. I use something to mark out where the straw should be. And then I very carefully use a toothpick to hollow out slightly in the top of the lid. This step is optional, but I just wanted that little extra detail. I add some glue to the bottom of the straw. And another optional step is to add black paint around the bottom. I find this adds a little bit of dimension. I blended that out with some silver so it was more subtle, and added some black paint to the top of the straw. Then I add some silver right around the very top edge of the straw. This step is also optional, but I like the details. I made a second one of these bottles off camera. Now I just have some fabric. You can use any fabric. I cut a small piece like this, folded in half like this, and added some glue to the ends. Then I stick it onto the side of the bottle, like this. And now I have some gloss Mod Podge that I'm using to coat everything I just made. The Mod Podge will also make this straw way more stable on here, as well as protect the paint, since this is still painted on a plastic object. Another way you could do this is to sand the plastic before you start painting, but I'm only using these in my sets so they're not likely to get damaged. I'm also using some of the Mod Podge to just seal the sides of this fabric so that it doesn't leave little bits everywhere. Next, I get a piece of tape and a label that I cut out of a catalogue for pasta sauce. Trim off the extra tape. I add some Mod Podge on the back and stick it onto the bottle. And that is all items done. If you decide to make the drink bottle with the handle, the dolls can hold it. But for everything else, I just use a bit of sticky tack. Now to add them to the pantry. This pantry now has a lot of sauce in it, but it looks really good from a distance. It's also not just sauce that you can make, there is a wide variety of things you can make. And now there is a cup for at home, and a bottle to take out. But that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, or check out my community tab where I post regular behind the scenes pictures and updates. Bye! Just as a quick disclaimer, my videos are intended for a 13+ audience and are not made for kids. As an adult who collects dolls, I use customization methods and sharp tools that are not suitable for children.